All right, should be good to go.
All right, I will call to order this June 12th, 2025 regular meeting of the Moab City Planning Commission at 6:06 p.m. Thanks for patience, everyone. We're, as often, having some technological difficulties here in chamber. First item of business is citizens to be heard. We do not have anyone here in chambers for citizens to be heard, so we will move on. We also didn't receive any emails about anything or items on the agenda as well. Oh, also in attendance tonight are city staffers Johanna Blanco, Corey Shirtleff, Marcy Mason, Kelsey Garcia, our city council liaison, Luke Wojciechowski, and then planning commissioners, myself, Kaya Marienfeld, Jill Tatton, and Miles Lofton. All right, first item of business is approval of minutes from our special meeting last week, our June 4th, 2025 special meeting. If you folks have had a chance to look over that, can entertain a motion, or if we need to make any corrections.
I don't think so. I looked over it. I couldn't see anything.
Bless you.
Yeah.
I'll go ahead and move to approve the minutes from the June 4th, 2025 special meeting.
Okay, we have a motion to approve from Miles. Is there a second?
I will second that.
All right, a second from Jill. All in favor of approving the minutes from our June 4th meeting, say aye.
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 Okay, motion passes, minutes approved. And of course, I just exited out of my agenda. Here we go. All right. Next, our action item for the evening, item 4.1, which is consideration of adoption of ordinance 2025-08, an ordinance amending Title III of the Moab Municipal Code to update Chapter 3.50, master fee schedule, and modifying certain fees and rates charged by the city. This is a discussion and possible action. And it looks like we have our city treasurer, Marcy Mason, here at the dais to present.
Thank you, guys.
Welcome.
Just a second, let me share. I apologize. I didn't have my computer muted.
All right.
Share. Okay, so I don't know if you guys had a chance to review the ordinance and everything for this. This is a brand new process that we were informed of by our attorneys that we're now required to put the master fee schedule in front of Planning Commission for recommendation to City Council because of the impacts or implications it may have on our community for building, zoning, all kinds of stuff. So anyhow, let me close this. Sorry, it's in my way on my screen. Okay, so we can't use touch screen. Darn it. I'm not sure if you guys have any questions or if you guys want me to go through anything. I'm happy to just kind of review the changes we have that are associated to planning and specifically, which is building fees.
I may additionally comment on that, again, specifically to what the state code update is referring to is development review or development impact fees. So that's very broad, and we're trying to negotiate what that is. But as Marcia said, what we're looking at specifically in our fee schedule tonight would be the building fees, which is the section we're looking at 165, and then the following section, which is engineering and planning fees. Those are really what we have the authority to be reviewing tonight. So if there are questions that are outside of that, we have the treasurer here, but that's not really what this recommendation will be based on. So like Marcia said, this is meant to be how these fees are being adjusted to affect what it is that falls within your purview.
Yes, and we understand that you guys have probably not seen this at this capacity before. This is our master fee schedule. This is every single fee that the city charges to the community, essentially.
While you're streaming down, maybe I'll comment a few of these.
Go ahead.
That with building fees in particular, all that we're really doing within this section, if you did take time to review it, is there were adjustments given the requirements that again, the state adjustments have been placing on the plan review and building permit process that were essentially raising what is that minimum fee rate from 65 to 85 to compensate for the lack of a better term, expedited requirements the building department's facing. So more staff time at a quicker rate. So these are specifically with building fees regulated that we cannot be charging more than it is the offset that it takes to exercise the service. That's kind of universal, I think, throughout most of the building and review fees. What we will see though, is if when we get down to the planning fees, they're a little bit larger fees than what we're seeing here as far as the minimums go. However, given most of those exercises go through DRT, many departments and other review divisions, we're not even getting close to breaking even. And we have done an audit on this and have the intention to someday bring us closer to a neutral revenue balance to our expenditures with this. But at this time, we're within the planning realm, and we'll get there. Just raising them that they're consistent within themselves. But when we did this audit back in 2022,
I think it was
late 2021, we found that we were
grossly
both
undercharging.
we did population like communities as well as resort type communities. We were by far the lowest among all of those. So even given that we're a small city, but we're handling big level projects and complex projects, we still had fees less than, and I don't want to call any municipalities out by name, but some municipalities that are not dealing with the things we're dealing with, we're charging even less than they are. So we're well behind in updating this. Again, this is just getting us to where it's consistent within itself, but I think that's my big spiel. Thanks, Marcy.
Yeah, no problem at all. And I think what you're trying to emphasize is eventually we would like to have a fee study done so that we can have it like, a solid understanding of all of our fees and be able to bring it back to planning and or council with a true recommendation, depending on our expenditures and stuff. But that is like way down the road and above my head. So, okay. So, do you guys have any specific questions that you would like to ask? As Corey said, for the planning stuff, it is everything that's changing is redlined to make it very clear on those changes. And if you guys have questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Or Corey.
Yeah.
Would you mind scrolling down to the planning engineering fees? Yep. So I think as we scroll down, you're going to see, as some of these red lines exist, again, minor edits that are making some of these minimum fees for, again, some of our more complex projects at least match the minimum platting exercise process fees. So master plan development, for example, is a $350 base fee plus $50 per lot. That's what we're changing it to. That is just basically covering platting. That doesn't cover all of the additional plan review that goes behind what you can tell some of our more recent NPDs, which are hyper complex. So again, just getting neutral. We're not getting neutral. We're just trying to make it consistent within itself. Sorry.
Correct. And the ordinance that I prepared for this is very detailed. It's telling you if we're revising, updating what it changed from, what it went to try to have it compacted into one place. So you don't have to scroll, 55 pages worth of documents or 53 pages worth of documents.
Yeah, the side by side is nice. And I think the
Yeah.
red line in particular.
Mhm.
Do you want to change coordinator in all forms? Because you're still planning director. Was that?
On the large scale projects, I'm seeing that now.
Yeah,
I
planning.
think planning coordinator will be the term that we want to use, and I'm seeing just below that even planning director still exists.
Bottom two.
So yes, I think the reason we
I can do a find and replace.
yes,
That was
the
just-
landscaping is because we were currently going through that.
Yeah.
Was what I got picked
Yep.
up. So thank you. And yes, I think that'd be a great recommendation to
Just a nitpick, but
amend
for
it. It goes.
consistency.
No, definitely. And that's, unfortunately for us, the building fee changes, that's exactly what happened. They changed a series of them, but some of them got missed that should have been changed last year.
Oh,
So that's the building fees that we're doing right now. that's already been premeditated. They're just making it.
Yeah,
So-
you're just actually,
Thank you. We will make that, I think, amendment throughout the planning fees anyway.
I mean, yeah, it makes sense. I think for always thinking about just informing the community on things like this or from.
We had a public hearing that posted today.
Yeah.
So I hope that
Yeah.
will help. And then it goes in front of council on the
Cool.
24th.
But like actual number comparisons to other communities, we don't need to call out
Yeah.
whomever it is, but
Mhm.
say, here's what
Mhm.
a master plan development
Caught.
costs.
For example, Park City,
Yeah.
and we were even looking at some non-Utah, communities and where they were at. So we basically did the NAR communities and
Yeah.
then we did similar population communities. And those are the ones we saw where they were a little closer because you can go to Summit County or Park City
Yep.
and you see what their planning fees cost and they're, well,
When I would even do a cross comparison of like Kanab and.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Springville.
Springville or
Or
even
Dale.
Dale.
Yeah, Springdale.
Springdale, yeah.
Mhm.
Or even, communities that are not to the level that we're at
Mhm.
now, just to
See.
show that like we're not far from them
Yep.
either. It's not just we're comparing ourselves to Park City.
Right. So and that's it because we're not them either. So jumping all the way up there.
Yeah.
But really it's a matter of ensuring we're covering our
Minimum.
costs. That's really the idea. So it is a bit custom of, well, how many review agents do we have? Park City might have teams of review people where that is the
Yeah.
expense to the community, but yeah, so
And
we
the
are.
state has criteria where we can't have like massive revenue coming in.
Yeah.
For planning, or for permitting and stuff, like and we can still have a high, but then we have to expect a low. And so that's what these fees are kind of flexing. With these particular fees, though, we haven't done a fee adjustment prior to last year. I don't even remember with the last fee adjustment. It was years and
Mhm.
years
Yeah.
since the fees had actually been looked at. So we just did a minimum change, which then was a ripple
Yeah,
effect. So these aren't even reflective of
totally.
what we like Corey said, what we should have done. This is just us bringing up the $80 to $85 to cover a minimum fee.
Yeah, I've been on the planning commission for a long time at this point. We have never talked about this.
Yeah.
So,
Which is actually a great point, is I was gonna ask Marcy to talk about this anyway, is that as we're updating the master schedule, this should be a living document. So yes, we're doing
Yes.
this right now, but it should be something that is evolving more concurrently. And when we had done that audit, obviously we've had some turnover in the finance director position and how the admin's structured, where this has been on the docket, but clearly it's not been on fire enough, especially given the community continued outreach and say, hey, this stuff's too expensive. There's not a big rush to try to change this stuff, but the longer we let this go, the bigger of a jump it will become. So with this audit, yeah, I think it doesn't have to be at this regular annual time, which is what a lot of the previous finance directors had said, like, let's not do this during master fee update. Well, let's do this as a separate audit somewhere else in the year. And we just never got to it. So we're poised to do that. We're actually, I think, getting a really great handle on a lot of these things. Marcy and I are going to go into deep dives into auditing multiple systems that we
Yes,
have.
we are.
So we're really bringing things back up to speed. So this will be one we'll see probably soon. I don't know if in the next year that'd be
I'd say
nice, but
probably, yeah, a couple
probably
years.
the following fiscal year.
Yeah.
Well, and that's come up in discussion before of like where we've tried to build incentives in by reducing building permit fees only to realize they're already so low. There's no, like, we're already sitting on the floor and there's no room for adjustment. So
Right.
every adjustment I've looked over and upon reviewing these seems pretty darn reasonable.
Yeah.
Like these are not large jumps
Mhm.
at all. I mean, like a minimum fee going $20 up. Like,
For after how many years? And
Yeah.
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 And so
it's
they,
not.
Well, and you speaking as someone who actively
Speaking as someone who
pays
actively
these
pays these
fees
fees,
on a
yeah.
regular basis, yeah.
the $85, to give you a little bit of background on why we chose $85, is we looked at what an hour would cost to do a review at the minimum, and it's $85. It was like around there. We just did a flat 85. Because staff time is of course your wage plus your salaries and et cetera. So
Mhm.
the $85 is only really looking at one person. And commonly there's multiple people that review permitting, but we didn't want to hit or have a huge impact. Because sometimes permits are really simple, you know, they take 15, 20 minutes for like the simple roofing permit, for example, as long as it's like, you know, a simple roof. I don't want to understate anything, but they're a lot simpler. So the rate of $85 is great. It covers whatever is needed, but then you have more complex that maybe it's a little too low. So
Yeah. Frankly, I also just don't think a $25 increase is really going to be the make or break for anybody's roofing project.
great. Do you guys have any other questions, concerns,
All
anything?
super straight.
Great.
Yeah,
At
it's
least, yeah.
well written,
You guys feel?
like it's simple. to
Like you
read.
said, you need to start to come close to covering costs, because I do think, you know, we're at a point where we're providing good service to the community from all the departments at the city, and planning and zoning and building and everything. It's important that it can sustain itself, at least at the barest minimum, which it kind of seems like, you know, that's how we
Right.
keep
Yeah.
the departments working for people, and how you guys can answer questions. And
Yeah. And I don't want to overtalk this so much. I think we're all on the same page now. We're just talking philosophy.
Yeah.
But yeah, our city manager right now has a really great way of approaching this, which is that we as a community are providing a level of service that has an equal amount to how much the community is buying into that. So where this can be balanced from a local perspective, we are in charge of that, what our services are and what the rates are that we apply. Where this is unique is both in planning and in building engineering, also auxiliary, is the state is now infiltrating with its amendments to its land use code and placing additional requirements on us, mostly for speed and increased levels of service. So it's not that we are wanting, it's the state is mandating we perform better, faster, all these things. And at a certain point, like you've said, if that becomes too out of balance, we will have a fallout where it
Yeah.
can't be sustained at all. So, you know, we're working that way.
excuse me. All right.
Yeah, I think reasonable.
Okay. We don't have any more questions. So on the table would be a possible recommendation to city council to pass this ordinance. As usual, options are we can make a positive recommendation, make a recommendation with amendments if we see fit, or negatively recommend, given specific findings from the decision.
I don't really see any particular amendments that are required.
I think it makes sense. I think just noting, just cleaning up the language a little
Mhm.
bit, which you
Yeah.
guys got, would
Yeah.
happen probably before the end anyways.
Right.
Yeah, as usual, there is a, I think,
This
them
new
already.
staffing system, I've noticed on the
sort of,
city council, we're, as you can tell, we're amending our staff report frameworks.
yes,
There's still a few kinks in there that we're working out. One of them being
there's not a recommended motion.
recommended motion framing. I noticed that. Well, that's what, we had some
I thought that-
annexations go through recently where the council did a great job in the spot, but I was,
Oh God, those
So it's
survey ones, I'm impressed.
it's always a useful thing to have that just available.
Jeez.
So beyond the staff recommendation, we will start reintroducing recommended motions as well.
Cool.
But for now,
Sorry, guys.
That's okay.
you guys do this enough, right? You should be able to come up
I'm
with it.
gonna give it a shot.
All right.
So I motion to forward a positive recommendation of ordinance 2025-08 without modifications to the Moab City Council.
That'll work.
I'll do it.
I will go ahead and second that.
Okay, we have a motion for positive recommendation from Miles and a second from Jill. Any other questions for staff or discussions? All right, all in favor of the motion on the table, please say aye.
I
Okay, motion passes 3-0 unanimously. Thank you, Marcy.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
guys.
everybody. It's a long process, but
Mhm.
little bits at a time. So thanks.
Perfect.
Come back anytime.
Well, you know, as the master fee schedule changes, I'm sure I will. be
Yeah,
happy.
there you go. There you go. All right, next, we just have future agenda items.
Wonderful. We don't have anything except for the EV readiness has been being reviewed by the city's attorney and is ready for another discussion.
That we'll probably be looking for final comments. We've refined to probably as much as staff can.
Yeah.
There may be some discretionary routes that we go. I know we talked about what we may do is lay out options. All of the options are available, but they're, again, that kind of your body's discretion of how those options might work. So there are gonna be some questions that we have for you, but following that, we're gonna dive directly into the public process with public hearing and advance that ordinance for approval of city council. So this is kind of the last working session to iron everything out. So of course, if there are bigger concerns, I know Carolyn's been pretty well involved in this. It'd be favorable to try to get any of those in advance of the meeting so that we can come prepared with answers to have some direction given to us.
Yeah, I was gonna say my note on that was also if we could get what we're to review as far in
Mhm.
advance of the meeting as
Mhm.
possible, just to be able to really fine tooth comb, and I said
Sure.
particularly on behalf of Carolyn as well.
Yeah, and this may be one that we are advancing that material to you for
Mhm.
review in advance of the agenda, as there may
Yes.
be items that
Yeah.
we're kind of
That'd
waiting
be,
on.
that'd be
We'll just send this to you as a material of
Yep.
review.
That'd be fine.
perfect.
So that's what I think we'll do. This, and then also any ordinances. I think that's a good system. Ordinances typically will require that much greater review than
Uh-huh.
timelines and any other items that may be holding up the agenda do interfere. But I do think that's about all we have as far as action items go.
Mhm.
Anything else, Kelsey's end that you're thinking of?
So that would be a regular meeting on the 26th then?
I will not be. here
So,
that day.
yeah, sounds like not either of us.
Oh, we will not be meeting on the 26th then.
Okay, which is that's all right.
Okay.
And this is one where I don't think it would be essential for us to try to squeeze in a special meeting. I think we can probably move. I
Okay.
think we'll still won't have Jill.
That I won't be.
Oh,
here
for the
this,
10th
the
of July?
June, But I'll be here on the 10th.
July
Okay.
10th.
Right.
Yeah, if I'm not,
Well,
I
go
can
ahead and
definitely zoom in.
Tentatively aim for that, as things come up, and we're definitely having a lot of moving parts right now, that there may be an item from the city council perspective for admin that's like, no, we need you guys to do this, so we may have to get creative in the meantime, but respecting your guys' time, of course.
Cool.
We'll aim for July
Yeah.
10th.
I'm
Great.
happy to make a special meeting work, but there's gonna be a chunk of time I'm out, and I will for sure be back by the 10th.
For that. Alrighty, well then maybe we'll have a pretty full roster of agenda items by that point.
Yeah,
hopefully.
hopefully. Should get a lot of time because I may be gone the next meeting.
Yeah.
All things go well, I probably won't be here on the 24th, so.
We're hoping for you, keeping your fingers crossed.
All right, that said, understanding that we are under seated right now in our
Mhm,
planning commission membership,
mhm,
as long as we can do remote meetings,
mhm.
I will
Mhm.
continue to do my dangest to make meetings.
I brought that up. We have some department head meetings that we'll have regularly. I've brought that up that with our planning commission, we are still short, and they may be kind of in different timeframes, losing quorum ability altogether. Temporarily out, permanently out in some cases possibly. So it's maybe not an urgent problem right now, but I think the light is starting to flash of really needing to reach out to the community. Our communications director is again plugging away. So I think everyone is doing what they can to acquire attention, but if you're listening,
You know how to be a planning
That's
commissioner.
right.
You're listening to this meeting.
So, and then just as a reminder for us, I know, within our individual circles within the community, I think one of the toughest things that we're seeing right now is that there are people that maybe live within the county that are interested, but as
Yeah.
not qualifying
Mhm.
as residents. So again, as you're out in your native circles, try to circulate that. You just never know what rogue person breaking Mustangs for a doctor might find out, which is how I got on planning commission.
Yeah, there you go.
So it can be Never know where you're gonna find a planning commissioner.
That's
And it could lead you to being the planning coordinator for
Could say
the.
that too. Hope so.
All right, awesome. All that said, thanks everybody. Good short meeting. I will adjourn at 6:33 PM.